Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
We have completed the endocrine glands till testes during the previous period. Now, let us begin with ovary. Ovary is also an important endocrine gland found in females having dual function. Ovaries produce female gametes, and at the same time, it produces female hormones like estrogen and progesterone. Let's see more about it. A pair of ovaries, the primary sex organs found in females, these are located in the abdomen. An ovary consists of ovarian follicles which gradually mature and form ova. And stromal tissues, ovary is made up of ovarian follicles and stromal tissues. And once ovulation takes place, these ovarian follicles gradually develop and they get matured and form Graphian follicle. I think we already mentioned about it. It forms Graphian follicle. The matured ovarian follicle becomes Graphian follicle, and this Graphian follicle will rupture, release the ova or egg. And what remains after releasing the ovum or the remnants of Graphian follicle after ovulation forms corpus luteum. It's an yellow colored endocrine mass, and it produces different hormones. One major hormone produced by corpus luteum is progesterone, which is very essential for the maintenance of pregnancy. I think we already discussed about it. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll repeat once again. In females, a pair of ovaries is present, and these ovaries are located in the abdominal region. Ovaries are made up of stromal tissues and ovarian follicles. The ovarian follicles develop and gradually they get transformed into Graphian follicle. And you know, every month only one ovum will be released by one of the ovaries on a normal case. Exceptional cases can be there where more than one ova are released at a time, but under normal conditions or usually only one ovum will be released by one of these ovaries approximately in once in 28 days. Once ovulation completes, the ruptured follicle, I told you Graphian follicle will be formed, and from there ovum will be released, and the remnants of the Graphian follicle will transform into an yellow colored endocrine mass. You call it as corpus luteum. And ovarian follicles produce estrogen, and corpus luteum produces progesterone. Ovarian follicles produce estrogen, and corpus luteum produces progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone both are steroid hormones. Steroid hormones, it is a particular category of hormones, and the speciality of steroid hormones is that it consists of 17 carbon atoms, and they are arranged in a shape of 4 rings. It's a 4-ringed structure. I think ringed structure and all you're learning in chemistry. So it consists of 4 rings and 17 carbon atoms are present in steroid hormones. Both estrogen and progesterone are steroid hormones. These are natural steroid hormones. Synthetic steroids, anabolic steroids, we say. Some athletes take it to build up their body, but while they take part in some what to say, major events and all, athletic meets and all, this is not allowed. It is not, they are prohibited to consume it, and regular consumption of these synthetic steroids can bring harmful impacts on your body. But estrogen and progesterone, these are natural steroids produced in human body. So once again, I will repeat the points. We discussed about ovaries. Ovaries are the primary sex organs. 2 ovaries are present, and these are located in the abdominal region. Ovaries are made up of stromal tissues and ovarian follicles. It is these ovarian follicles that gradually gets matured and form ovum or ova, and the matured ovarian follicle, you call it as Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle will rupture, release the ovum, and the leftover of this Graafian follicle will get transformed into an endocrine mass. Endocrine mass means it produces, capable of producing hormones, and is known as corpus luteum. It produces hormone known as progesterone. Progesterone is very important in pregnant ladies for the maintenance of pregnancy. And estrogen, you know, it's a very important female hormone which control the secondary sexual characters in females. And estrogen and progesterone, both of them are steroid hormones. Functions of estrogen. It stimulates growth and activities of female secondary sex organs. It will promote the growth as well as the different activities of secondary sex organs, development of ovarian follicles so that it will get matured and release the ovum. Female secondary sexual characters and the sexual behavior. The sexual behavior of females, the development of secondary sexual characters, all these are regulated by estrogen. Once again, the growth of secondary sex organs, the different activities of the secondary sex organs, development of ovarian follicles, then the development of female secondary sexual characters. There are different secondary sexual characters like enlargement of breast, development of high-pitched voice. All those are under the control of this particular hormone, and even the sexual behavior is also regulated by estrogen. Once again, growth and activities of female secondary sex organs, development of ovarian follicles, sexual behavior and development of female secondary sexual characters are controlled by the female hormone known as estrogen. Development of mammary gland, already I told you, enlargement of breast or the development of mammary gland is also under the control of this particular hormone. Next is about progesterone. Progesterone maintains pregnancy. It supports pregnancy. It acts on the mammary glands and it will facilitate the formation of alveoli. You have heard about alveoli in respiratory system. In respiratory system, the tip of the bronchioles will end in air sacs known as alveoli. What is the significance of alveoli in respiratory system, Vidur? What is the significance of alveoli? What takes place in the alveoli or those balloon-like structures? We learn.
Respiration.
What
blood,
is
blood travels through lungs.
Blood travels through lungs. I'm asking only about alveoli. Some major process is taking place on the surface of alveoli. Nandana?
Exchange of gases.
Exchange of gases. Carbon dioxide and oxygen will get exchanged through the surface of alveoli. So that is about the alveolus or alveoli found in or which is a part of a respiratory system. But mammary glands too have structures known as alveoli. Next year you will be learning in detail. These are sac-like structures where milk gets stored, and this particular hormone, progesterone, they acts on mammary glands, stimulate the formation of alveoli and helps in the secretion of milk. So it is more significant or very important in the case of pregnant ladies. The first point is that it helps in maintenance of pregnancy, the maintenance of the endometrium or the inner lining of the uterine wall where the fetus gets attached. So it's very important for the maintenance of pregnancy, and it also plays an important role in milk secretion and formation of specialized structures known as alveoli, where milk, the secreted milk is getting stored. So that is about the functions of progesterone released by
Ma'am,
yes.
can you repeat that second point again? The alveoli part.
Alveoli, these are in the mammary glands, there are specialized structures known as alveoli, and it is in these sac-like structures that the secreted milk gets stored. So these are the sacs which will store milk, and from where the milk will be taken out. Okay, means when the baby sucks the milk, it is getting stored in the alveoli. These are some storage sacs where the milk is getting stored, and it also promotes milk secretion. Okay. Post delivery, the milk secretion. Once delivery is done or delivery is completed, the milk secretion has to take place to feed the baby. So that is also under the control of this particular hormone, that is progesterone. So next we are going to learn about some other structures or organs in your body. These cannot be categorized as endocrine glands. They have endocrine functions, but these are important, significant organs present in your body, or structures present in your body, like heart, kidney, gastrointestinal tract, etc. Apart from the various endocrine glands that we had been discussing so far, these structures also produce some hormones. Let's begin with the first one, atrial wall of heart. From the walls of atrium or atria also, a particular hormone is being produced. You call it as atrial natriuretic factor, or ANF, atrial natriuretic factor. And what is its role? When the blood pressure increases under the influence of this particular hormone, blood vessels will dilate. You know that narrower the vessel, when the blood vessel is narrow, then the pressure will be more. Whatever be the passage area, when the passage area or the tube, or even when a normal pipe through where the water comes out, if it is narrow, the tube or the hose what we are using, if it is very narrow, the pressure will be more. And if it is wider, then the pressure will get reduced. So same is the case. See, the pipe, the tip of the hose or pipe through where water is coming, if you try to close it partially, you might have seen, like when you are watering the garden plants, when you try to water it, if you partially close the pipe with your hand, you will find that when the pipe's width, it becomes narrow, when the passage becomes very narrow, the pressure will be more and the water just splashes out with much force. So same is the case here. When the blood pressure is increasing, this will promote the dilation. The blood vessel will get dilated. So when the blood vessel is getting constricted, pressure will be more. When it dilates, there'll be more space for the blood to flow, and this will promote reduction in blood pressure. So atrial natriuretic factor is a hormone produced by the walls of atrium. Under the influence of this hormone, blood vessels will dilate. When the blood vessels will dilate, the blood pressure will be reduced, and this hormone will be secreted when the blood pressure increases. And under the influence of this hormone, blood vessels dilate and pressure will get back to the blood pressure gets back to the normal. Okay. Next one, kidney. JGA of kidney. So JGA, you will be learning in excretory products and their elimination, so that we haven't completed. So JGA means juxtaglomerular apparatus. juxtaglomerular apparatus, which means it is a apparatus. Okay, specialized sensitive region formed by the modification of the cells where the afferent arteriole, joins or interacts with the distal convoluted tubule. So both parts, hope you know afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole, the blood vessel entering and leaving. Efferent arteriole enters, efferent arteriole leaves the Bowman's capsule. In 10th standard, you might have learned. So afferent arteriole will be entering the Bowman's capsule, forming a network of capillaries. Then they leave out as efferent arteriole. Okay. And then proximal and distal convoluted tubule. I told that nephron, in a nephron, you can categorize different regions. This is proximal convoluted tubule. Then there is a U-shaped part. Then there is a distal convoluted tubule. So we can mark different regions for the nephron, proximal and distal convoluted tubule. So juxtaglomerular apparatus is a specialized sensitive region formed by the modification of cells where afferent arteriole joins with the distal convoluted tubule of nephron. You will be learning about juxtaglomerular apparatus, its significance and all in our chapter excretory products and their elimination. For the time being, you just understand that juxtaglomerular apparatus is a specialized sensitive region formed by the modification of cells where afferent arteriole joins with the distal convoluted tubule. Distal convoluted tubule is a part of nephron. Nephron is having distal convoluted tubule. Proximal, this is proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal, distal, Henle's loop, all that you will be learning. Okay, different regions are there. So a specific region of nephron is known as distal convoluted tubule. Then afferent and efferent, afferent arteriole will be entering, forming a network of capillaries. Efferent arteriole leaves out. So this is formed where, as you can see in the picture, it is formed where the afferent arteriole joins with the distal convoluted tubule. There is some cellular modification takes place and forms a specialized structure known as juxtaglomerular apparatus. Juxtaglomerular apparatus. It produces a hormone, a peptide hormone known as erythropoietin. And this erythro word is reminding you of something. Erythro. Erythro means? Red. So erythropoietin is the name of the hormone produced by juxtaglomerular apparatus. It promotes erythropoiesis. Any guesswork what is erythropoiesis? What is meant by erythropoiesis? Formation of
red blood cells.
Yes, correct. Formation of red blood cells. So juxtaglomerular apparatus produces a peptide hormone. You call it as erythropoietin. And erythropoietin will stimulate the formation of red blood cells. Now, next is about gastrointestinal tract. Gastrointestinal tract produces a hormone known as, there are several hormones produced. So gastrin, then GIP, cholecystokinin. So many peptide hormones are produced by gastrointestinal tract. So gastrin, then secretin, gastric inhibitory peptide, cholecystokinin are some of the hormones produced by gastrointestinal tract. Gastrin, secretin, gastric inhibitory hormone, cholecystokinin. So we'll start with the first one. Gastrin. Gastrin, as the name suggests, it's acting on gastric glands and it will promote the secretion of hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. You know what is the role of hydrochloric acid in stomach? Anybody? What is the role of hydrochloric acid? Why it should be released?
Killing the germs which enter with the food particles.
Yes, one more function is there. It provides
Provides an acidic medium.
acidic medium. So enzymes in stomach need an acidic medium. So hydrochloric acid will provide an acidic medium. Any idea what is pepsinogen? Pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is reminding you of some enzyme.
Pepsin.
Pepsin. So this is a proenzyme. Okay, this proenzyme should be activated to pepsin and this pepsin will act on proteins. So in presence of hydrochloric acid, pepsinogen will get converted to pepsin. Pepsinogen is a proenzyme which will later get converted by the action of hydrochloric acid to pepsin, which can digest proteins. So gastrin is the hormone produced by gastrointestinal tract and it will stimulate the secretion of hydrochloric acid as well as pepsinogen. Hydrochloric acid functions we listed out. Pepsinogen will get converted to pepsin and acts on proteins. Then secretin. Secretin acts on exocrine pancreas. Already we mentioned about exocrine and endocrine part of pancreas. So it will act on the exocrine pancreas and promotes the release of water and bicarbonate ions. What is the significance of bicarbonate ions? Any idea? Bicarbonate ions can provide an alkaline medium. Okay. Gastric inhibitory peptide. Gastric inhibitory peptide or GIP. As the name suggests, it will inhibit secretion of gastric juices. Gastric secretion will be inhibited by this particular hormone, GIP or gastric inhibitory peptide. But as per the recent studies, scientists say that rather than inhibiting gastric secretion, its role is to stimulate the secretion of insulin. So in your textbook, what is mentioned, you need to learn that. You learn that only, but still as an extra information, you can write down somewhere. So scientists, the recent studies says that this particular hormone, rather than inhibiting the secretion of gastric juices, they'll stimulate the secretion of insulin and they have renamed it as glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. That is its name, recent name, but the abbreviation can be common for both. Here it is gastric inhibitory peptide, GIP. Here also glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. So still, even after the change in name, the abbreviation remains the same. Glucose dependent insulinotropic polypeptide, because the scientists have realized based on the recent studies that rather than inhibiting gastric secretion, it plays a major role in stimulating the production of insulin. Then the next one is cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin, it acts on pancreas and gallbladder. What is the significance of gallbladder, children? What is its role? Anybody?
Stores the secretion of liver.
What do they store? They are
Bile juice.
liver will secrete bile, and the bile will be stored in the gallbladder. And gallbladder and pancreas. So this particular hormone will act on pancreas as well as gallbladder, and it will stimulate the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and bile juice. So from the gallbladder, bile juice, and acting on pancreas promote the secretion of pancreatic enzymes. So these are the 4 peptide hormones released by gastrointestinal tract. Once again, I'll repeat the points. Gastrin. Gastrin will act on gastric glands and stimulates the release of HCl and pepsinogen. Pepsinogen under the or in the presence of hydrochloric acid will get converted to pepsin, and it will act on proteins. Then secretin, it will promote the secretion of water and bicarbonate ions. It is acting on the exocrine pancreas, promoting them, stimulating them to secrete water and bicarbonate ions. And this bicarbonate ions will help in providing an alkaline medium, which is essential for the pancreatic enzymes to act on food. Then gastric inhibitory peptide. Gastric inhibitory peptide inhibits gastric secretion, and I told you that recent studies indicate that they have a role in stimulating insulin production rather than inhibiting gastric secretion. And the last hormone is cholecystokinin. They will act on both pancreas and gallbladder and stimulate pancreas to produce pancreatic enzymes and gallbladder to release bile juice. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Several other non-endocrine tissues. So just like this, so many other tissues are there which are non-endocrine in function, and they secrete hormones known as growth factors. So there are different endocrine glands which will secrete hormones, but at the same time, like heart, kidney, gastrointestinal tract, there are many more non-endocrine tissues which will produce hormones known as growth factors, which play a very important role in the growth of tissues, repairing or regeneration of tissues. So there are a group of hormones or growth factors which are released by the non-endocrine tissues. Several other non-endocrine tissues are there. Even though they are non-endocrine, they can produce some growth factors or hormones which play a very important role in proper growth of the tissues, their repair, regeneration, etc. And hormones, you can categorize them into different types. And some examples are also given. Peptide, polypeptide or protein hormones, steroid hormones, iodotyronins, then amino acid derivatives. These are the 4 categories of hormones. Example for protein, peptide, polypeptide hormones are insulin, glucagon, pituitary and hypothalamic hormones. Hormones produced from pituitary and from pancreas. Both are examples for peptide, polypeptide or protein hormones. Then steroids. Already I told you what are steroids. Having a characteristic 4-ringed structure with 17 carbon atoms. Examples: cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, progesterone. All these are examples for steroid hormones. Then comes iodotyronins. So all the thyroid hormones like thyrocalcitonin, tetraiodothyronin, triiodothyronin, all will come under the category of iodotyronins. Then amino acid derivatives, epinephrine, norepinephrine, all that come under amino acid derivatives. So these are the 4 types or categories of hormones. Peptide, polypeptide or protein hormones, steroids, iodotyronins and amino acid derivatives. Okay. Now, next we are moving on to the mechanism of,
Ma'am.
yes,
Can you show the last slide?
yes. Any doubt means you can ask.
Can you tell about the last two parts, the connection one?
The different types of hormones, the different categories include based on their chemical nature or chemical components, peptide, polypeptide or protein hormones, steroids, iodothioronins, amino acid derivatives. So examples for peptide, polypeptide or protein hormones are insulin, glucagon, pituitary, and hypothalamic hormones. There are so many hormones released from pituitary and hypothalamus. All that come under peptide hormones, those which are released from pancreas, pituitary, and hypothalamus. Steroids include cortisol, testosterone, progesterone, and estradiol. Then comes iodothioronins, all the thyroid hormones. We learned about different thyroid hormones, triiodothyronin, tetraiodothyronin, thyrocalcitonin. All will come under iodothioronins. And the last category derived from amino acids, amino acid derivatives. Example is epinephrine. Okay. So this categorization is based on the chemical components present. Okay, Nandana?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, next is about the mechanism of hormone action. You know that hormones are released into the bloodstream, blood will take it to the target sites, and then they will bring about the action. But how it is brought about, how hormones are bringing about different changes in our body, how they are influencing the physiological activities. Hormones, they bind to some specific receptors. These are receptors of proteins. So in the target tissue, you know that hormones need to act on target sites or target tissues. Okay. Hormones will act upon target tissues. And these target tissues, they have some receptors which are made of protein. So hormones will combine with these receptors present on the target tissues and they form a complex known as hormone receptor complex. Hormone, you know, it has to act on target sites or target tissues to bring about the action. So on the target sites, some receptors, protein receptors will be there. So these hormones will combine with these receptors and they form hormone receptor complex. And that will bring about changes in the body. Now let's see how it is happening. A hormone binds to its specific receptor, and these are also specific in their action. Hormone cannot bind with any receptor. There are specific receptors to which the hormone will bind and form hormone receptor complex. So once hormone binds with the complex, it brings about biochemical changes in the target tissue, and thereby it will be able to regulate the metabolic and physiological functions. Once again, I will repeat, hormones need to act on the target tissue. To facilitate, they have some receptors present on the target tissue. So hormones will combine with those receptors, protein receptors, and they form hormone receptor complex. And once this complex is formed, this will bring about some biochemical changes in the target tissue. So the receptor is present on the target tissue. Hormone will come and bind with the receptor present on the target tissue. And as a result, it will bring about some changes. And these changes, with the help of that, it will regulate the physiological and metabolic functions of the target tissue. Okay. Now there are two types of receptors. There are two types of receptors. Membrane bound receptors and intracellular receptors. As the name suggests, see the first case, children. Here you can see it is the receptors are present on the membrane. See, it is attached to the membrane. Whereas in the second case, it is present inside, intracellular, inside the cell. Receptors, when they are present on the membrane, you call it as membrane-bound receptors. See the first figure, it is attached to the receptors are present on the membrane. So, hormone receptor complex will be formed on the membrane. Now, intracellular receptors means these will be present inside the cell. So, before we proceed, I just want to know how far you have understood. We started with ovaries. So, starting from Vidur, we can quickly summarize. Where are you, Vidur? Vidur vanished. Vidur, quickly summarize from ovaries.
Oh, a pair of ovaries located on the abdomen.
What do they produce? Which hormone?
Estrogen and
Estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone is produced by, be specific. Ovaries made up of?
Ovarian follicles.
And stromal tissues. Okay. Gayatri, tell me which are the hormones and which regions are producing these hormones?
Estrogen is produced by the ovarian follicles and progesterone is produced by the stromal
Louder,
tissues.
louder. Progesterone is produced by?
Stromal tissues. Stromal tissues.
We said about some special structure, no?
Yes, ovarian follicle. Oh, sorry. Corpus luteum.
Corpus luteum. And give me one function, any one function of estrogen, Punya. Any one function of estrogen.
They regulate female secondary characters.
Female secondary sexual characters. Progesterone, Anna, one function.
It supports pregnancy.
It supports pregnancy. And after that, we discussed about some of the organs or tissues in your body which are capable of producing hormones. We started with the first one, atrial wall of heart. Donna, tell me which is the hormone produced by atrial wall of heart. Donna, Michael, Sania.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, tell me the answer, Michael. Where are you? I can't see you. Which is the hormone produced by atrial wall?
Atrial natriuretic factor.
Okay, what is its function? When the blood pressure increases?
It decreases the blood pressure.
How it will bring about decrease? It will help in? What happens to the blood vessels under the influence of this hormone? The blood vessels will? Dilate, reducing the blood pressure. Then JGA or juxtaglomerular apparatus of the kidney produces a hormone. What is the name of the hormone produced? Sania? Erythropoietin. What is its function?
Formation of red blood cells.
Formation of red blood cells or erythropoiesis. Then, which is the next one that we learned? Gastrointestinal tract will produce 4 hormones. Quickly tell me the names of those 4 hormones, Malavika.
Gastrin, secretin,
Yes.
gastric inhibitory peptide, and
One more. Cholecystokinin. These are the 4 hormones produced. Then we discussed about hormone receptor complex. Which are the 2 types of receptors? Rijas, which are the 2 types of receptors?
Membrane-bound receptors and intracellular receptors.
Intracellular receptors. We have only few more lines or few more topics. Just hormone receptor complex formation in intracellular and membrane-bound receptors. With that, we can complete the chapter. Another 10 minutes only we'll take. We'll complete it next class. Okay, children, see you next class.